This is a nice theory. Was the biblical Leviathan an amphibious UFO? And the video I'm going to read after this one is going to be the book of Ezekiel. That's going to be important for us to read. We'll be astonished with what's written in there. So, was the biblical Leviathan an amphibious UFO? Ancient texts are always a good source for finding clues about humanity's forbidden history. If you learn to read between the lines, the good book is no exception. To those with a rich imagination, the name Leviathan embraces multiple forms. A catastrophically large beast endowed with both strength and intelligence. In the Bible, the Leviathan is mentioned 5 times, and while metaphoric in essence, these descriptions could be interpreted in a literal fashion, and we've had several reasons to suspect that this was no mere creature but an artificial craft built and operated by the gods themselves. The first mention is in the book of Job, God's most loyal and least favored servant, or the victim of proving a point, if you will. After breaking down and starting to feel pity for his painful life, Job curses the day he was born. He then invites other day cursers to also curse his birthday. Job 3:8. May those who curse days curse that day, those who are ready to rouse Leviathan. It seems that the post-diluvial world Job lived in, the Leviathan still represented a great danger that came not without consequences. Although dangerous, Job sees the creature more like a latent peril, one that is out of sight but not out of mind. Towards the end of his trials, Job has a discussion with God, and the Leviathan motif is once again invoked. Job 41:1-2. Can you pull in the Leviathan with a fishhook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? And Job 41:7-9. Can you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the strength and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it is false, and mere sight of it is overpowering. This description shows us the Leviathan was no mere animal made of flesh and bones. Although scholars have hypothesized the mythical Leviathan was actually a stylized version of the crocodile, certain verses seem to point otherwise. Job 41:31-32. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair. Interesting way to describe the movement of Leviathan made underwater. There are no animals with a body temperature high enough to boil water and leave a steamy wake behind them. On the other hand, if we substitute the word Leviathan with an unidentified flying object, the impenetrable armor and terrifying weapons make much more sense. To an ancient civilization with bronze tools, such a craft would undoubtedly was considered the work of nothing less than a god. And as we know, UFOs also have aquatic capabilities and are regularly seen diving underwater or surfacing from the depths. Any water in contact with the exhaust of their propulsion systems would immediately turn to steam. To those who found themselves in the vicinity of a surfacing UFO, the depths would definitely look like a boiling cauldron. Now, any primitive weapons would have absolutely no effect. Most of our modern weapons would be rendered useless against an extraterrestrial foe, let alone spears and arrows. There is more biblical and apocryphal evidence to suggest the Leviathan could be described an otherworldly nature. It was the creation of Yahweh, the same divinity that sent the fiery wheel after Ezekiel, and I'm going to read Ezekiel right after this video, sent the fiery wheel after Ezekiel and punished the rebellious faction of the Nephilim for exposing mankind to forbidden knowledge. And let's remember, forbidden knowledge is something that the Atlanteans had. The emerald tablets written by Thoth the Atlantean are on a playlist for you to listen to. It's amazing, the philosophy and especially the very advanced technology that they had, and they were misusing it to the detriment of mankind. It was forbidden knowledge for them, but they used it anyway. Now, although Yahweh later became God and his worship transformed into Christianity, focusing on love as a creed, the God of the ancient Hebrews was sometimes vengeful and unforgiving, his actions violent, his motives obscure, hatred for other gods knows no bounds. Typical military chief behavior, if Yahweh was indeed the leader of a group of aliens who engineered mankind to rule over the earth, it makes sense that his nature-defying creatures would be artificial in nature. Leviathan, Behemoth, the glory of the Lord. Now, it could be that, obviously, these engineered things were the creations of the Nephilim. Not of God, but of the Nephilim. Now, metaphors and symbolism aside, the idea that gods were actually aliens has guided incredible traction these past decades, and further scientific advances will surely cement it even further. Perhaps it will all become so clear that mankind's first interplanetary pilgrims set foot on another planet and are greeted with burnt offerings by terrified natives. And this is on UFOholic on Embedded Reality. But let's remember that the ancient Greek gods, according to ancient texts and the Homeric epics and texts, were, of course, extraterrestrials and even Atlanteans. So even the Oracle of Delphi, there are ancient Greek texts saying that there is an agreement between humans and extraterrestrials that was at one point kept at the Pythia Oracle at Delphi. So there's a lot of things we don't know yet. And this is Embedded Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.